What if the person you thought you knew best was hiding a secret so profound it shaped your entire family's destiny? I thought I knew my mother's story, but digging into her past uncovered a truth she couldn't bring herself to share, a truth that echoed through generations and changed everything I understood about my family. Growing up, there was always an undercurrent of mystery in our home, a lingering silence that hung in the air whenever certain topics arose. My mother, a pillar of strength and resilience, carried herself with a quiet dignity that I admired. But behind her warm smile, I sensed a sadness she never fully explained. It wasn't until I stumbled upon an old, faded photograph tucked away in the attic that my world began to unravel. The image showed my mother, much younger, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. Their body language spoke volumes, intimate yet tinged with sorrow. On the back, a single line in my mother's handwriting: "The day everything changed." That photograph became the key that unlocked a vault of secrets I never knew existed. I found myself embarking on a journey into my mother's past, driven by an insatiable need to understand the woman who raised me. As I sifted through dusty boxes and yellowed documents, each discovery felt like a piece of a puzzle I didn't even know I was solving. I reached out to distant relatives, some of whom were reluctant to speak. Their hesitation only fueled my determination. I visited the small town where my mother grew up, walking the streets she once roamed, hoping to find answers in the places that shaped her youth. With each step, I grappled with the weight of my quest. Was I betraying my mother's trust by unearthing a past she had chosen to bury? The ethical dilemma gnawed at me, but the pull of truth was stronger. I needed to know, not just for myself, but for the generations that came before and after. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon in a small local library. Hidden in the archives, I found a newspaper clipping that made my heart stop. The headline screamed of tragedy, and there, in black and white, was my mother's name. As I read the article, the world around me faded away, and I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. The truth, when it finally emerged, was more devastating than I could have imagined. My mother, barely out of her teens, had faced an unthinkable choice, one that society at the time had forced her to make in silence and shame. The man in the photograph, I learned, was my biological father, a love lost to circumstances beyond their control. In that moment, I understood the weight my mother had carried all these years. The societal pressures of her era had compelled her to keep this secret, to bury her pain and move forward as if nothing had happened. But the echoes of that decision had rippled through our family for decades. As I pieced together the full story, I was overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. Shock at the revelation, sadness for the young woman my mother had been, and a newfound understanding of the quiet strength she had shown throughout my life. The veil had been lifted, and I saw her not just as my mother, but as a woman who had faced impossible choices and carried their consequences with grace. The impact of this hidden truth on our family became clearer with each passing day. I began to see how it had subtly influenced our dynamics, shaping relationships and even individual personalities across generations. The unspoken pain had manifested in ways I never recognized before. In my own struggles with trust, in my siblings' fierce independence, in the protective nature my mother had always displayed. I found myself diving into research on intergenerational trauma, amazed at how buried truths can echo through time, affecting those who don't even know the original story. It was as if our family had been dancing to a song we couldn't hear, guided by the rhythm of a secret kept for too long. This discovery changed everything. My perception of myself, my understanding of my family, and my appreciation for the power of honesty. I saw myself not just as an individual, but as part of a long line of women who had faced challenges and made difficult choices. The strength I had always admired in my mother took on new meaning, and I felt a deep connection to the resilience that ran through our family's veins. The process of reconciliation was not easy. Bringing this truth into the light meant confronting years of unspoken pain and reshaping our family narrative. But as we began to talk openly about the past, I witnessed a transformation. Walls that had stood for decades began to crumble, and a new understanding blossomed between us. For my mother, sharing her story was both a relief and a renewal of grief. But in her vulnerability, she found a strength she didn't know she still possessed. For the first time, she could speak her truth without fear of judgment, and in doing so, she began to heal wounds that had been festering for a lifetime. As a family, we learned the importance of open communication and the healing power of vulnerability. We discovered that by breaking the cycle of secrecy, we could forge stronger bonds and create a legacy of honesty for future generations. This journey has taught me that family stories, even the painful ones, are a precious inheritance. They connect us to our roots and help us understand the forces that have shaped us. I've come to see that true strength lies not in burying the past, but in facing it with courage and compassion. As I reflect on this experience, I'm filled with a sense of awe at the resilience of the human spirit. Our family's story is one of survival, of love that persists despite impossible odds, and of the power of truth to heal even the deepest wounds. The journey to understand my mother's past is far from over. Each day brings new insights, new questions, and new opportunities for growth. But I no longer fear the unknown. Instead, I embrace it, knowing that in the unraveling of our family's secrets, we have found a path to deeper connection and understanding. How do you come to terms with a past your own mother kept hidden from you? I embarked on a journey to understand my family's roots, only to uncover a shattering secret that explained so much, yet created even more questions. This is the raw emotional truth of what happens when generations are shaped by silence, and the profound impact of finally breaking it.